What we're doing this election is we are quantifying the size of the freedom movement. And that's going to be very valuable for the next election. I don't think people understand how dire it is. People are talking about taking government this election. We're not taking government this election, guys. We're not. We'll be lucky if we get the foot in the door in the Senate. We'll be lucky if we got 4 to 5 Senate spots and we could hold the government accountable no matter who wins. Mate, we're doing well. We're doing very well. And maybe the following election federally, we can look at doing something. But people's expectations, they need to be brought right back down and say, guys, you know, we are not looking like a side that's about to win government. You know, there's no bloody way. If we can muster, you know, 300,000 people at Canberra from around the country, we should be able to man every polling booth always. We should be able to do it. But instead, what's happening right now is we're looking, and I'm going to say it, we're looking like the losing side, guys. We're seeing a situation where the candidates are calling me up. They're absolutely devastated that they're on their own and they can't get the volunteers out there to help them. And everyone needs to remember this. We're going to have bad news on election night. All right? We're going to have bad news. The reality is going to be that we're running these candidates in the lower house around the country and we probably won't get any of them up except maybe Bob Katter. Even Craig Kelly will lose his seat. People don't understand how dire this is. Like, I don't think they get it. It's very difficult to win a lower house seat because the way it works is it's 151 seats. They all represent 100,000 people. So they've split us up. We're all split up. But that's why we're going to see the greatest success in the Senate, because the way the Senate works is it's by state and territory, and all the votes in the state, they get added up together. So we can get some Senate spots up there and maybe even enough to form the balance of power in the Senate. So it doesn't matter if we don't get the lower house. We can veto any legislation, no matter who forms government, and stop them. That's what the hope is. That's what keeps driving me and people like Topher. That's where the real fight is. But you have to run lower house candidates so that you can get votes for the Senate. Who knows? Maybe we'll have some miracle wins in the lower house, and that's great. There's some great people in my area who I've been backing. There's some great people in the Hunter Valley. They have a very good chance.
Great people everywhere. I've been interviewing lots of them. There's great people everywhere. They are the naive, but they have the passion. Maybe the next election, if they come back again, they'll learn. But it's not wasted, Michael. It's not wasted. You know, the people that ran in the Hunter election last year, so that's in Sydney. It's probably one of the most winnable electorates for freedom parties. It happened to be One Nation that ran in the last election. A guy named Stuart Bonds, he ran. He came in just as number 3. He almost beat the Nationals guy. If he beat the Nationals guy, he could have actually won the whole seat. Now, because of how hard he worked, this election, One Nation was given an equal platform in that seat to Labor and Liberal. They were on the debate stage. They were debating the other candidates. It's a different candidate this time, but even though it's a different candidate, still, you know, they're treated equally. Now, well, look, first off, the freedom community is a bunch of cats. All right, it's a bunch of cats that think they're lions. Now, herding cats from point A to point B is a difficult process. You can't take a photo of them. It's impossible, basically. But herding cats that think they're lions, they're so confident and blatant, and they're like, and I understand why they're like that. I do. You know, we've lost trust in the institutions. We don't trust anyone. And so they're going to be skeptical of everything. But sometimes it hurts them. Sometimes they're too skeptical. And so, you know, the post wasn't specifically targeted at Morgan. Morgan's just it's a bigger thing that's going on. It's everyone. This is why, in my opinion, we've seen a great big stagnation in the growth of the freedom movement. It's not just because of the fact that the lockdowns and a lot of the government measures have stopped. It's because this has become, and no one wants to say this. No one wants to say this. It's become a mean, toxic environment that it's not family friendly. It's completely gone off the tracks. It's not able to be mainstreamed, and I don't think, why would anyone hang out and hang around? I mean, just look at the comment sections of these posts. If you are not in 100% alignment and 100% puritanical in your beliefs, 100%, then it's not good enough. I
I'm a bit worried because I think sometimes I think so little of myself. I wonder where the other leaders are. Now, we haven't had many new leaders come up in the last 6 months. Why? I think it's because we're not growing that much. That's what I think. And I've told you why I think we're not growing, because we've become a toxic, mean community that's also got a tall poppy syndrome problem. There are 151 electorates. So if you're a party, I know not all parties are doing this, but if you're a party that's running an election in all seats, you need 24,000 volunteers around the country. Now, that sounds like an impossible task, but this is the price if we don't do that. If we don't, the major parties will get back in. We will be, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. They're going to get back into government, and we're not going to represent. A lot of people have been overestimating the size of the freedom community, and I've hated it. I've hated it. You know, you said it before. The biggest protest you had in Victoria was probably 400,000. Some were saying 700,000. Some were saying 1 million. Now, I never thought that. I never thought that the freedom community was that big. I always understood that the freedom community was maybe 1 to 2 million people around Australia in total. Mm-hmm. There is still 23 million people out there that are untapped, and they all make their decision up, most of them, before they go into the polling booth in many cases. So if you're not representing on the polling booth, if you're not handing out how to vote cards for your favorite freedom party, we're screwed. We're screwed. And this is the thing. We know exactly how to win elections. We know exactly how to do it. We've just got to do it for a week. Now, there are protests happening right now as we speak, Michael, today.
I'm going to one today, yeah.
And good on you. And any organizer I've talked to, any organizer I've spoken to, I've said, if you don't plug the volunteers for that, we need volunteers for these candidates who they're yelling down the phone to me. They're struggling. Some of them are in tears. You know, if you don't plug the fact that they need volunteers, then that protest was useless. Absolutely useless. It doesn't matter if you sweat 2 years to work out how to perfectly preference your card. There's another 23 votes out there to cancel your vote out for every one vote in the freedom community. We've got so much work to do. But no, instead, everyone wants to attack each other. Everyone wants to act like we don't have an election on. And everyone wants to act like, you know, it's all going to be hunky-dory in 2 weeks when we have a completely new government. No, this is the final sprint. Now is the moment. And, you know, I've done everything I can to educate people over the last 2 years. We've all been trying to get people up to speed on why things are going on. You know, but we've provided how to vote cards. We've provided, you know, people with experience about how to actually, you know, watch out with the ballot counting, watch out with what's going on with, you know, with the infighting with the major parties. Now is the moment to put all of that understanding into action in this 1 week. We're up against an establishment that is well-funded. They pay $200 a day per volunteer to man the polling booths. We don't have that. Our people, they do it out of their own, you know, they believe what they're actually saying. They're not being paid to be out there. But that is why they will lose eventually, because they do not have the courage of their convictions. We do. Yeah, that's right. And that's why we'll stick at it. And
what are we up against from your perspective?
Well, there's so many different things. Well, first off, politically speaking, we're up against a political establishment that not only gets, let's talk about one party, for example, the Liberal Party. They have $27 million in public funding from your votes from the last election. So that's how much they had in the bank. Then they also have all the political donors, all the big party and big company interests donating to them, millions of dollars, filling up their coffers. They've got a party infrastructure which allows them to call upon hundreds of thousands of volunteers around the country, all to fight an election. They're incumbent. They have people on every single level of government, and that's just one of the major parties. You know, the Labor Party, $24 million from the last election. They've got all the funding that the Liberal Party do, except it's traditionally from the unions. It's from, you know, big party interests as well, some big companies. And so first off, on the political level, because that's how we're going to make change on a certain level politically. That's what we're up against. And, you know, getting people mobilizing big amounts of capital and spending that capital efficiently, because there are people in this movement like Clive. For a rich guy, he doesn't know how to spend $200 million. He doesn't. You know, you need someone that's been in the political system a lot longer than Clive and understands exactly how to actually spend $200 million on a campaign level. You don't need $200 million. You need $500,000 if you know how to spend it on a seat, not $200 million, not like $1 million a seat. Yeah. I said before that, you know, I've been given a lot in life and had a lot of blessings. And as I said, you know, he who much has been given, much will be expected. And the way I see it, use it or lose it. Because if you don't use it, then maybe someone else needs the resources, you know. If you're not going to play your part, then, you know, we need someone that's going to play their part. The show must go on with what we're going through in Australia. And there are certain people that have been given certain gifts. And the meaning of life is using those gifts and using it in a positive way, in a constructive way, not a destructive way. You know, what I see from a lot of these personalities, I've worked with all of them, is destructive when it comes to the end outcome. If you've got a grievance with one of these minor parties, can it wait? Can it wait till after the election? Is that possible? Because all you're doing is demoralizing.
Does it have to go public?
Exactly. Does it have to go public? See, whenever I have a problem with someone, I generally take it privately. And that might sound hypocritical, because like, why didn't you do it this time, Joel, with Morgan? Because it's not just Morgan that's doing this. It's everyone. It's everyone in the comment sections, up and below. Because a lot of people in the comment sections, they're falling into this trap of attacking each other. Guys, this is exactly what the establishment wants, but no one's getting paid to do it. You are tearing each other apart. You know, I just saw an ad for the UAP. It was attacking One Nation directly. It took a quote out of context of Pauline Hanson in the debate which was held between her and the Mavericks, and it was completely out of context. And so we see it happening on a party level. We see it happening on a candidate level, and even on a commentator level with people like Morgan. And then we see it happening, you know, on the ground level, percolating into the comment section. And that's the average people. And it's either going to enrage people or it's going to demoralize them. And this is not the time to be demoralized. We are a week out from the election. You know, in about a week and 12 hours, we're going to know who's going to run the lower house in this country, ScoMo or Albo. We won't know who runs the Senate until a week after the election, so 2 weeks from now. Now, what should we be doing? It's pretty simple. There's actually not that many things. There's 2 or 3 things we should be doing. First off, we should be getting our vote absolutely right. We should be making sure we understand how we're going to vote. Now, if you don't know how to do that, you look into the people in your area. If you don't know how to do that, we've got how to vote cards which recommend the best way to vote for freedom to get us out of this thing. If you don't like the freedom parties that we've put on top, just reorder the freedom parties and that's it. But other than that, I'd leave it the same. Secondly, it's not enough just to vote. Our candidates need bloody help. They need it, and they need it like yesterday.
Right. That's right. Let's do that. This is the thing. We need volunteers.
Yes.
They need hundreds of volunteers. And you don't have to be vaccinated to be a volunteer for this thing.
That's right. That's right.
We just need your time. Get on the thing.
This is some context for you, Michael. How many volunteers? In every electorate, you need about 200 volunteers for election day, maybe more. So pre-polling's open now. It's where people can vote early. There are 2 to 4 polling places open per electorate. Very easy to man. You probably only need about 20 volunteers a day. Very easy. Election day, different story. There's anywhere from 30 to 50 polling booths open. And you need about, you know, probably 4 volunteers, maybe more, 4 to 8 volunteers for that polling booth. We're talking hundreds of people. That's a lot of people. Like,
optimist. It's I think we better batten down the hatches.
Well, let me be optimistic. I am optimistic, right? We all need something to run on, and I am optimistic. I just want people to put it in the right direction, and I'm trying to light a fire under people's butts so they get activated, because we can make a difference in this week. Most people haven't voted. Most people, absolutely, most people haven't voted. There is still the opportunity there, but for every day that ticks by and we don't have these polling booths being manned and our candidates are getting worn out, the other guys are manning the polling booths diligently. That's the point. But this is the thing. This is what I think is going to happen this election, despite where we are right now. I think we're going to see one, definitely, Freedom candidate get up in Queensland. Probably Pauline Hanson. Maybe two, because she's actually gotten a very good preferencing deal with the Liberal Party. I think we're going to definitely see one in New South Wales, because we almost got one in the last election in New South Wales. So that's three so far. I think we're going to have a fourth one in terms of Victoria. I reckon you probably get the Liberal Democrats up. And then in Tasmania, I reckon Topher Field might actually get up as well. And then maybe we'll see one in WA. So we're looking at possibly 6 senators that get up around the country. And then we've already got a senator in Parliament already, which is on our side. We've got Malcolm Roberts from One Nation. We've got Senator Rennick, who's from the Liberal National Party. And we've got Senator Antic. So now we're looking at, 9 senators possibly in the upper house. That could be enough to actually hold the balance of power very securely. Now, that's the good news. That's where the fight's at. But this is the thing. If we don't run candidates in the lower house, we don't get Senate spots. That's the reality. And I am very optimistic about where things are going into the future. I really am. And as you said, even if we don't have the greatest...
I am optimistic for the future. I just think we're going... It's like traveling through the dark to reach the dawn. I just think the dawn is still a way off. But I do think we'll reach there. Because
me too.
As someone, a Chilean guy said to me, this human soul yearns for freedom, craves for freedom, and will go that way. So I do think we will. I actually think ultimately our culture will benefit from it, because we'll finally reach a platform once we've gone and go, okay, now we're a country. Now we fought for freedom. This is our freedom. We're going to be better than we used to be. So I think it's the fight of our lives. So I do have, but at the moment we might lose a few battles on the way.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I think that, after this election, I'm encouraging everyone to have a bit of a break. I really am. When it comes to the COVID stuff, I actually think we're having an extended break from this stuff. I don't think they're going to go that hard on it until after the elections in Australia. And after the elections isn't just this one. It's not even just the Victorian one in November. It's the New South Wales one in March next year. So we've got a couple of them. And so the day after the election, I'll probably take a week off from this stuff. And then I'll be straight into planning for Victoria's election. It's not that I'm being a dictator and telling people how they should vote in Victoria. It's that I'm giving Victorians the resources to fight the battle that they haven't been able to fight in the past. You've got no problem protesting, but politically speaking, a lot of people are disarmed and they need the tools to fight it. So on a state level, yeah.
Totally agree. Well, I'd love to help with that. I totally agree. There's most of my people watching are based in Victoria, like 75%. So if I'm still on air, but yeah. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up now and go. It's been joyous. Can I just say, and since we're here together, that I believe you're right. I don't want to sound like a quitter, but I think we have to brace ourselves for after the election, where you're saying time out. And it's going to be really interesting, and not in a cheery, let's celebrate way, what will happen.